Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you on this truck behind me something that if you check regularly could end up saving you just untold amounts of money. Out on the road I've had different drivers take trucks in at least 5 times that I can count, and with emissions type problems, emissions codes and such, and take it into the shop and find out, oh, it was just a corroded wire or a loose wire. And what I'm talking about is your battery box. Everything in the truck kind of starts with your battery box. Everything that is runs on, off your ECM, blah blah blah, runs off of voltage. So we really need to go through several times a year through the battery box and check everything, because it can create a whole host of problems. It can't even list all the different codes and shutdowns it could give you, especially on emissions related trucks. Some of those components are really sensitive to having the proper current go into them. So I'm going to show you today kind of what to look for. I go through my battery box like once a month because I have an older truck and it doesn't have as many components on it as what these newer trucks do with emissions and such, but I still want everything to be in peak operating condition, and I don't like taking my truck in the shop out on the road. So anything I can do to prevent it, and it's free. Doing this check is free, it's easy, and I just can't stress to you how neglected your battery box is. So let's take a look at this truck and I'll kind of show you what I look for. All right, well, here's my battery box. My battery box on this 2012 Columbia is behind the cab between the frame rails. It sits over the drive shaft. That's what that hump in the middle is. The drive shaft goes through there. On a lot of trucks, they'll be up under the driver's steps or the passenger steps. You got to pop the fairing off and to get to them. But I just put new batteries in this thing about 2 months ago, so I've been through it. It's time to go through it again. I ended up putting new hold down bolts for the, I put 3 out of 4 hold down bolts in it because they were rusted so bad they just broke off when I tried to remove them. So the hold downs are important because they keep your battery from going on the road and vibrating all over the place. Your batteries have plates inside them. They don't like a lot of vibration, so that you can cause internal shorts if your batteries are bouncing around and slamming around in your box. You don't want that. So that's one thing. And then this looks like a big rat's nest of wires. I've got all the truck stuff in here, and then I got an inverter and an APU wired in. But I do go through once a month and check for rubs. So we have all these wires running on top of and underneath each other. I go through them all and I check and I make sure the plastic loom is good. The ones that don't have loom, I just make sure they're not rubbing on anything. And then, everything's zip tied tight. So, we can go. These don't move much, bouncing down the road. Moving creates rubs. And then over here, we got some that are close to the edge. I just make sure they're still tucked inside the battery box. And then I'll go through. This is my main ground wire coming in here. And this is the main thing we're looking for, is corrosion. Now you can see, I cleaned this up 2 months ago. Already we're getting green corrosion on here. So, you got to check them periodically, regular. So I'll take that apart, I'll clean this up. But then I just go through and I pull on every connection wire in here. I'll turn on them. Just make sure nothing is loose. Because that wiggling can cause cause arc and a disruption in the current flow. So keep an eye on that. Anything you see green corroded like that, definitely get on that. Now the next thing, and here's where the emission systems kind of come in, is you'll have a lot of, different trucks are different, but see these small wires here? They're all into butt connectors. These are add-ons here. This is probably for the APU, I think. But they'll go into butt connectors, and you want to make sure that that wire going into that butt connector is not just corroded through and about to come out of that butt connector, because that can cause problems. Here's a fuse for my inverter that I got rigged in. And then something that people don't probably change often enough is these jumper wires between the batteries, these big thick cables that go positive to positive to positive to each battery, and then negative, negative, negative. These things over time can deteriorate internally. I was having a problem at one time where my voltage on my dash would keep crashing. It would come back. Well, it wasn't the alternator, and couldn't figure out where it is, and eventually I took this whole group of wiring off here and the positive group, I'd ohm it out and then wiggle the wires around, and it was showing there was no continuity. So there was a break internally in one of these. So about every other or every third time, depending on how time my batteries last, I'll get a new set of these battery cables here, these big jumper wires, and replace them. Or you could make them if you have the tools and the wiring. But and then every few times I change the batteries, I'll get new terminal studs here. They're not that expensive, and you know, them threads wear and can cause them to come loose, whatever. So that's kind of what you're looking for in here, and try to keep it clean. I like to take mine, before I put this lid back on today, I'm going to blow it all out with the air gun, keep some of the dust down in here, and that's about it. That's really what I'm looking for. Oh, and then the batteries. Check for any batteries leaking. You look for any wet spots of acid. Smell. You'll smell like rotten egg smell, sulfur smell. If you got a battery that's leaking, in the wintertime batteries can freeze and bulge. That's not good. And if you've got one battery that's going bad, that could, you know, over time make the other ones go bad. Catch that stuff early on, and you'll save yourself money, possibly downtime, time in the shop, on the road, and just make your truck have a longer, happier, healthier maintenance life. If you like tips like this, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.